começar. Salve, salve galera. Tô aqui Hoje eu vou estar ensinando pra... Hoje eu vou estar ensinando pra vocês como correr na Fórmula 1 em 1950. Vou estar postando vários vídeos aqui.
Hello and welcome to F1 Challenge VB. My name is Mephisto and we are about to embark on an epic journey through time, spanning several decades. A journey filled with drama, suspense,
Galera, eu tô...
tragedy, and triumph. Throughout this journey, we will experience the history and evolution of what probably is the greatest and most prestigious motorsport in the world, Formula 1. And our journey begins here at Silverstone, at the 1950 British Grand Prix.
Galera,
I really hope you enjoyed that little intro sequence because this is the first and last time you'll see this one. It was made only for this video, which is kind of a shame since I've spent quite a lot of time making it, but oh well. And to be honest, it is a bit too long for everyday use, so for those reasons, this is the only time you'll see this particular video intro. Anyway, there's a lot to cover in this video, so let's jump right into it. First, there are a few things I haven't mentioned in the introductory video I released on Sunday, so let's look at those things in no particular order. First, let me finally reveal the team I, or rather Andy Higgs, will be driving for this season. And that team is... ERA. Yes, this is the team I really wanted to drive for this season. This is the reason there hasn't been a straw poll. Next, for this series, I will be turning on the heads-up display, despite the fact that I find it really distracting and highly unrealistic. However, I will need the HUD for commentary purposes,
galera,
so I hope you'll forgive me for
selecionei
that.
esse carro aqui.
3. If something were to happen to me during the first lap of a race, I will restart. As most often the outline of the circuit is very similar to the modern outline, or rather the modern outline is very similar to the old one. There are of course some major differences, but the overall shape hasn't changed much over the years. The first thing you'll probably notice is where the start-finish straight is. It's situated between Abbey and Woodcut rather than Woodcut and Copse, as it's been for the majority of its life. So, turn one back in 1950 was Woodcut, which is a very fast right-hander. Then we move into Copse, which is virtually the same as in modern times. Next is the Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel complex, again very similar to how it looks today, but with a few obvious differences, mainly that Beckett's wasn't the fast sweeping right-hander it is today. Next we move on to the Hangar Straight. Not much to say about this one, except maybe that the scenery is completely different, obviously. Then we come into Stowe, again for the most part it is the same as its modern counterpart. Next is Club, which back in the day was a 90-degree turn rather than a chicane. And finally turn 8, which is Abbey, Although to me it feels like more of a kink rather than a proper turn, but to each his own. And that concludes our little circuit walkthrough, and we can finally get to the part you've all been waiting for. Coming out of Abbey to cross the line and set the first qualifying lap, which is a benchmarker of 1:49.58, not the fastest at least when you compare it to the pole time, but I can't really compete with Maseratis and Alfa Romeos, so we have to do with what we have. And coming out of a club, I believe this is, I nearly lose control of the car. That's going to lose me a lot of time, and that is a 146.981, which is a bit of an improvement, but not by much. So I still need to find a little bit more time around the circuit. Again, I'm not going to compete against Felice Boneto in his...
Beleza, galera, voltei.
Actually ended and I am in 12. However, as soon as I skip forward
na sessão de qualificação. Peraí, deixa eu acender a luz aqui pra parece que tá muito escuro aqui. Galera, eu vou deixar na descrição a playlist e vamos olhar o grid pra ficar quietinho pro narrador pro narrador falar, beleza? Então, beleza.
Fourth is Ascari, and Luigi Fagioli rounds up the top 5. Then we have Luis Rosier in the Tabulago. Next is 7th, Prince Bira. Then Rick Parnell in 8th. We have David Hampshire in 9th with Harry Schell in 10th. Peter Whitehead is 11th with Louis Chiron in 12th. Cabantu is 13th with Serafini 14th. Then we have Peter Etancelin in 15th. Cuff Harrison in the first ERA is 16th. Eugene Chabot is 17th. Andy Higgs in the second ERA is 18th. Crosley is 21st in the Alta. 19th. I kind of lost my thought there. And anyway, Anyway, this is the first race of the season, so I guess I'm going to take it easy. This is obviously Andy Higgs' first race in Formula 1, so he needs time to kind of get used to driving the car and getting a feel for the car, really, what I'm trying to say. As we now rush into turn 1, which is woodcut. You saw there at the beginning there was quite a bit of bumping into each other, and there's already chaos on the circuit. We have cars on the track and at the side of it too, and people struggling a lot more grip. I'm guessing the tires are still not warm enough, and we already climbed up into 14, which is really good. I'm now having a look at my monster man, but I'm not really able to keep my speed through cops, but I should be able to, at least I hope I'm able to overtake that Ferrari soon. It would be nice. And here is the replay even of the start. As you can see, the cars are bunched up quite hard on the grid, and I'm not sure how accurate that is. I think in real life they would have been a bit more spaced out, but oh well, I'm willing to forgive them for this. As we now come into Woodcut and see all the devastation, there's one of the French cars. I think that's one of the Simcas.
Galera, vocês não podem estar ouvindo barulho de chuva. É porque tá chovendo aqui. Casa, né? Galera,
wheels broken off, so he's definitely out of the British Grand Prix.
A chuva está forte, né? E galera, eu não tô conseguindo passar da terceira marcha.
Just here it is. He's coming into comes there and crashes into that hay bale, which is apparently strong enough to break his wheel. Now, of course, these wheels were spoked, so they aren't as strong as the more modern wheels. Anyway, I'm chasing after Louis Chiron right now. We are down in 14th. We need to try and find some speed. And Eugène Chabot even is out of the race. He loses control of the car, crashes into the hay bale there, and decided that that was it for him, and he didn't want to continue anymore. So we're now starting our second lap. Very interesting first lap, opening lap there. I'm not sure what's happening here. Anyway, we're still chasing after Serafini, and we have another retirement, it seems, with Joe Kelly losing control of his Alta, going behind the bushes there and out of the British Grand Prix. So that's the third or fourth retirement now. And Cabantu is also out of the race, as it seems he also loses the car. Everyone, the AI seems to have difficulties controlling the car. They downshift way too early, and which causes the rear wheels to spin really fast and end up losing control of the car completely.
São 24 voltas, galera.
And some 5 seconds behind Serafini. I hope we can catch him soon. Next we see Serafini crashing out of the British Grand Prix, so we are now in 8th. Quite a wild race here today. And here is Serafini coming into, I think that's Club, and he crashed into the hay bale and lost his wheel. And this is Etan Celine, who loses control of his car, crashes into the chain link fence, which apparently is strong enough to break off your wheel. So we are now coming through Woodcut to start lap 4. We are some 3.5 seconds
na quinta volta.
Later on I catch up to Ascari. We're just 1.5 seconds behind him. And I'm
Tô em nono ainda.
to overtake him.
Ele não quer de todos, mas esse cara não deixa eu passar pro oitavo. E a gente tem umas imagens aqui do replay. E
and this is the Ferrari of Peter Whitehead. He loses control of the car, crashes into the hay bales, loses his wing. Fangio crashes into the Ferrari, then Crossley crashes into Fangio's Alfa Romeo. So that was quite an interesting little incident there. As I'm now quite behind Alberto Ascari, trying to overtake him. Uses slipstream on this straight.
ok, ultrapassei vocês. Então na sexta volta, ainda em oitavo.
Obviously, this is a bit helped by the fact that there have been a lot of retirements not far, and there is Louis Chiron, who's just overtaken us. And look at the speed that Maserati. Is it a Maserati? I think it is. Anyway, look at how much speed that thing has. There's obviously no way I can compete with that. And now, coming around, I'm about to overtake my teammate, or rather the second ERA driver. I don't think we're really
oitava volta, tá?
teammates since
Eu tava na sétima, agora fui pra oitava.
I move up a place
Tô
anyway.
no 24 e nono lugar.
Felicia Bonetto overtakes me, but that doesn't
Galera,
matter, as in real life he didn't compete in the race, and so technically he
tô em nono de novo.
isn't competing in this race either. Although he is here physically, we will not count him in the standings at the end. You'll see how. And Juan Manuel Fangio is now out of the race on lap 12. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't believe that there have been so many retirements already. It's quite insane, really. That's it for us. And here is Juan Manuel Fangio coming into the pit, it seems. Yes, that he's coming in for fuel and tires, I believe, and everything seems fine for the moment. And I can see a wheel in the distance there. I don't know if you can see it. And Juan Manuel Fangio suddenly decided to retire from the race for no reason whatsoever. That's quite an interesting thing to do.
Tô na 13ª volta.
Now we are 7th, actually technically
Sétimo.
we're 6th, and as I said, Felice Bonetto doesn't really count. He's not in the race, despite having his name in the race. I think that's a bit confusing, but Felice Bonetto retired from the race, but still he doesn't really count. And Nino Farina, the leader of the race, is out of the British Grand Prix. This is turning out to be one interesting Grand Prix, and we are up in 4th place. We are in the points, guys. And here is Farina coming into the pit. Again, it looks like it's everything's alright, and that's
Galera, esse aí é o
Fagioli in
replay,
the other red car.
tá?
And there are a bunch of cars passing them. And there goes Farina, who retires from the race, and so did Fagioli a little bit later on. So basically Farina gave up his race there. Not sure why. He was doing well, he was leading the race, he had a very good lead on Harry Schell, but I guess he got sick of it. And at the end of lap 16, actually the start of lap 16, because the start finish line is before the pit entrance, I had to come in for fuel and tires. And for this race and this entire season, we will have pit crew.
Sai agora.
But that won't be so for some of the races in some of the seasons, and I will either have to reduce the animation for the pit, or actually get, or in some cases even get rid of it, as there are some bugs with pit stops at some of the tracks. But for now, we're doing well. We're chasing after Luisio, who's out of the race, as well as Cuff Harrison. Considering they both retired at the same time, that makes me believe that they actually crashed into each other. That's quite an interesting thing. And here is Chiron coming around. Looks like Cuff Harrison was slowing down to enter the pit. Chiron didn't really pay attention and crashed into the back of Cuff Harrison. So that's 2 more people out of the race, and we are about to take 3rd place in the race. This is absolutely amazing. Of course, this is mostly thanks due to the fact that there are a lot of retirements, but I never would have thought that I would be scoring points on the first race. Well, I would have, but not Andy. Andy obviously didn't think this would be possible. And I've just started lap 23, and Harry Schell crosses the line to win the British Grand Prix, the 1950 British Grand Prix. Very, very well done.
Na última volta eu vou receber a bandeira quadriculada.
This is obviously completely different to what happened in real life. Harry Schell was nowhere near the point, let alone having the ability to
quadriculada
win.
em preto e branco.
Então
é na última volta. Então é isso, galera. Eu vou ficando por aqui. Até o próximo vídeo e fui!